My name is Megan Barber. I'm over Employer Relations. I'm here with Carlos. I'll go ahead and let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Carlos Kidman. I'm the QA engineering manager here at Jane, and over a team of QA engineers for manual testing and processes, and also an automation team.
Wonderful. And the reason I wanted to talk with you today is because we have a good relationship with Jane. I know that you guys have hired a few people from us in the past, and you recently just hired 2 of our QA students. And so I wanted to talk with you about what made them successful, what made them stand out to you, because like you had told me, you had over 60 applicants for this position. And so it's pretty exciting that 2 of our students were some of the ones that were able to get chosen for that. And so just talking a little bit about what your experience has been working with Dev Mountain, what made them stand out, and we can just kind of start there and go from there, really.
Yeah, so first off, I just want to give a shout out to AJ because he's done tremendous work in that QA department and teaching
awesome.
people. It's almost like a crash course into QA because QA is such a vast field, and being able to teach as much as you can in a few weeks is crazy impressive. And so with the positions I was looking for at the time, I wasn't looking for any specific technical ability. I left it open for entry level to whatever, right? Senior, principal. I left it open because I wasn't really looking for that technical ability. I wasn't looking for people that had these 5 years of QA experience and that's it, right? What I was looking for was people that were willing to work on a team, that were willing to make a positive impact wherever they went, and I wanted to feel that from that person. And so what they did at Dev Mountain was they got the opportunity there. They took it. They rolled the dice. I'm going to learn QA. I'm going to try this thing out, right? I would say that they learned enough to create the opportunity for themselves to be able to talk to me, right? I went to Dev Mountain because I learned that you guys had the QA course, and I said, why not look here? And if in my mind, I'm thinking if someone is willing to put pause in their life, to pay this much money, to gamble essentially, right? Because they don't know exactly what they're going to get out of it. That is someone that I feel that I can work with. That is someone who's willing to make a sacrifice and try. And with that little formula right there, I feel like that's someone that I'd want to work with every single day. And so I went over there and basically just said, hey, I'm here, guys. If anybody wants to interview with me, come over. And I gave you guys like maybe a day or 30 minutes notice. Like I gave you guys like no notice.
It wasn't long.
And yet we had 6 or 8 people show up, dressed up, resumes in hand, ready for this interview. And I think I got there at like 5 or 5:30, and I stayed there till like 9 or 10. I was there for quite a while, but right there, that right there is what I love to see. People stopped what they were doing and said, here's my chance, here's my opportunity, and I'm gonna take it. I don't know if they were in their car changing, putting on their stuff, and drove over there. Some people got dropped off. Some people had their wives waiting with them, in the waiting room. And that right there is what I'm looking for. And I talked to someone. I wish I could hire all of them. Honestly, I wish I had more positions open to hire everybody I'd spoken with, because all of them I thought were great. But what it comes down to, again, I had about 80 applicants. I only talked to about 60. I had to compare, right? I had to say, this person and this person wins. This person comes in, this person wins. And I had to compare, right? And that's the sucky part of interviewing, the sucky part of hiring, is you got to compare people. On paper, you got to compare them with a gut feeling, with your culture. But what really made them stand out was their passion. It was everything that they did outside of QA, right? In QA, yeah, they were able to talk about test cases. They were able to talk about test plans, sure. But I feel like all that technical stuff can be taught. I feel like if I had someone that had the base that they needed, that had the humility in order to understand that I need to learn more, I need to listen, I need to seek to understand before I'm understood and be okay with the feedback I get, whether it's negative or positive, is someone that I can work with. I can teach you the test cases. I can teach you the technical things. I can't teach you to be humble. I can't teach you to be positive. And the 2 people that I hired from Dev Mountain, I felt like they had those in spades. They had that humility, they had the hunger, they had the positivity, and I only talked to them for about 40 minutes, right? And they were at the beginning of my testing process. And so they were maybe like number 10, 11, 12, and yet there was 50 other people I talked to afterward. And I still remembered them weeks later, right? Because of what we talked about and what they talked about themselves, saying, for example, I love karate, right? And talking about karate, and I'm this black belt, and I do this, and on my free time, I like to kick things, you know? But to me, like, it makes me laugh, because I'm like, that's so awesome. I love that you do that you have something that makes you happy. Mm-hmm. And I ended up giving him a nickname, Karate Guy. And so come down to like interview number 60, and it was time to make a decision, I still remembered Karate Guy, right? And now I have Karate Guy on my team. And that's what I'm talking about, right? Is being able to, you have these 30 minutes to 60 minutes in an interview, right? To really make a first impression. And that's all you have. Mm-hmm. And how do you use that hour effectively? You know, that's really what it gets down to. And sometimes it's not even talking about the technical things, you know. Yes, you got to prove that you're capable for it, but there's so much more on top of that. And how can you be good at both sides?
Right, and it's just being able to communicate and talk with someone and connect with them on that personal level, right? Like, make yourself stand out that way. I'm so much more likely to remember someone that I just had a good conversation with and that I enjoyed talking to, rather than someone that maybe hit every mark technically where I want them or whatever. I'm going to remember that person that I was like, no, they were good. They may not have been 100% the best technically, but I really enjoyed talking to them, and I can see myself working with them on a day-to-day basis and really enjoying it. And I know I can teach them that extra technical thing that maybe they need a little bit of help on.
Yeah, and in QA especially, you have to have the skills to communicate, to collaborate, and to be able to get teams to have conversations with each other, right? You have to be confident enough to ask a question to get the discussion started. And so, yeah, I mean, you have to have that ability to not just in an interview impress people, but also get them to have this discussion around you, right? And be able to say, this is what I like to do. I love karate. This is how I spend my free time. This is what I do. And that might have the interviewer ask you questions about that. You actually get them kind of excited. Because think about this, that you have the interviewer and the interviewee. Sometimes the interviewer, they have a lot of interviews lined up. And how awesome would it be if you could be the person, the interview that made their day?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, don't just sit there waiting for them to ask you questions, right? That's not how you get the interview. That's not how you be memorable. You know, take control of the interview. Show your passion. Talk about what you like to do. Make them laugh. Like make it an enjoyable experience. Because if you can make them laugh or smile, like, you're gonna be memorable.
Yes, I completely agree. One thing I also wanted to talk about was all of our Dev Mountain students mostly, there are some that come in with a technical background, but most of them come from a background in sales or marketing or whatever it is. It's not a background in QA or in web or the technical field that they're going for. But that's okay. And their backgrounds make them who they are. And there's always something you can take from a past job. I think a lot of them just get maybe intimidated by the company, thinking it's a red flag or whatever it is. Would you disagree with that and agree that past work experience is relevant? There's always something you can pull from it, and to not only be okay with it, but being comfortable talking about how that can make them into a better person for your company because of that background. Yeah.
Honestly, the background, like you said, is what helps build that base for your learning, right? Mm-hmm. So to give you an example, I used to work, before here I worked at Sprint selling cell phones. Before that I worked at a place called Telos, which was a school for troubled teens. It was like a therapeutic school, right? And that school taught me patience. That school taught me to learn and to listen and to really care about the other person. Because it wasn't my kid or anything, it was somebody else's kid, and yet my whole goal was to mentor them, was to help them see positivity in life and to enjoy things, and I had to really focus on myself and really be self-aware of my feelings, of what I was saying. You know, like I had to strategize each conversation to really build them up, because anything you said could hurt them, you know? And so I learned communication, I learned that patience, I learned a lot of skills there that I use right now in management, you know? When I'm managing a team, I have to be willing to listen, I have to be patient, but I have to set expectations. And all of these skills that I'm talking about, I didn't learn them in QA, right? I learned them from Sprint, talking to customers, yelling at my face, oh, my bill's too high. And I'm just sitting there going, smiling, right? Yeah, you know?
Yes.
And all of those skills I learned is what helped propel me when I finally got into QA. When I got into the tech world, everything I learned before propelled me for success. It set me up so I could actually talk to people and have those conversations. One of the toughest things in QA is being able to have a conversation with a developer who may not actually want to listen to what you have to say, right? And how can you still talk to them? How can you not get defensive? How can you word your question in a way that actually helps them and helps yourself, you know? All those skills, again, nothing to do with QA. It's what I learned in the past, you know? So any experience you have, honestly anything, even school for Pete's sake, like anything you're doing, you're gonna use throughout your entire career, through your entire life, right? And one thing I wanna mention too is the age doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're 18 right out of high school. It doesn't matter if you're 45 or older. It does not matter. If you make it matter, then we're gonna see it in the interview. If you're uncomfortable, oh man, I'm 50, barely moving in the tech world, they're going to feel that. You gotta be, if anything, if you're 45 or older, you got a ton of experience. Take advantage of that. Talk about it. Say, like, to give you a great example of this, they may say, do you know how to test APIs? And if your answer is no, don't just say, well, no, I've never worked in an API. Instead, you say, no, but here's other stuff I've done. I understand what an API is. I may not have tested it before, but I've done this here. I've done this here. And even talk about other things. Talk about other pros that has nothing to do with APIs. Just say, no, I don't understand it, and move into your strengths. Yes. And they're almost gonna forget about that API thing because you're talking about so many positive things that you have in your experience. So again, it doesn't matter the age. I'm not looking at someone's age. I'm looking at who you are as a person. The age is just a number.
Yeah, I love how you said right there, just like deflecting almost, and never just saying I don't know or no, but showing that you're capable of it.
Exactly.
And showing that maybe it's not this problem or this setting, but I know that with the right experience, with the right training, I can do it because of this and this, or this is what I am good at. You know, just never just giving up and saying no. That I love that, and we tell students to do that, and so I hope maybe with you saying that, maybe they'll listen.
Yeah. Well, for example, for all the automation positions, and really any programmer is going to go through this, we do the whiteboarding challenges, yes. Right? You have the whiteboarding, and a lot of people freeze at that point. You got to practice that. I mean, do it on your own. Have a friend or someone else challenge you on the whiteboard, give you something. Maybe there's tons of websites online that give you coding challenges for free. Get good at doing it, but get good at it on a whiteboard, on a piece of paper. Don't practice in an actual IDE. That's cheating. Don't do that. Do it on a whiteboard. Do it on a piece of paper, right? But regardless, I had someone that is currently on my team. I gave them a whiteboarding question, and it was a pretty simple question. However, they didn't know how to do it. And so as she was writing the method, starting it, okay, I'm giving it a name, and she stopped and she said, I actually don't know how to finish this. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know how to finish it. I know what I need to do mentally though, so I'm just gonna finish it in English. And so she started going and just writing, I need to do this, if it's this, it's gotta do this every time it's this. And she wrote it, it looked like an English paragraph, right, with the method name and some curly braces, right? But what she said afterward is what finished it. That's what made the deal happen. When she finished it, she said, I know what I gotta do, I just don't know how to do it in programming language. Could you help me out? That right there stopped the interview, and we went up and I said, this piece you put right here, this is how you would do it in code. This line right here, this is how you do it in code. I'm like, you had everything absolutely right. That's the logic you need in order to complete it. And this is how you do it in code. And together, we were able to walk through the problem. And it wasn't detrimental. That didn't hurt her chances. If anything, it helped her chances because it showed me that she was at least willing to go through it. She didn't stop and say, I don't know how to do it, and just stopped right there. She didn't know how to do it. She wrote it in English anyway, and then she asked, could you show me how?
I love that. So I feel like I tell students all the time a story that I had a company tell me, and it was so similar to that. It was a web developer. They gave him a whiteboarding challenge. He looked at it. He turned around and he said, you know what? I don't know if it's nerves right now that's getting to me. He's like, I think it is. He's like, but I'm blanking on this. Would someone be able to come up, walk through this with me? I pick up things very quickly. Mm-hmm. If you just walk through this with me, give me one that's similar to it right after, I know I can do it. The senior dev comes up, they walk through the problem together, they talk it out, go back and forth, and then afterwards give him a problem very similar. He was able to get through it, had a little bit of things, but they ended up hiring him over the senior because he was able to humble himself down and say, you know what, I don't know how to do this right now, but I learn quickly, and I know I can do this with a little bit of help. And they loved that drive, they loved that humility. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards he was able to, work his way through it, and they hired him. And so I love hearing examples of companies, exactly what you said, where it's okay not to know. It's what you do when you don't know that matters. Yeah,
don't let the fear immobilize you, mm-hmm. right? Do something about it. Mm-hmm. Because the only way you have truly failed is if you're not moving, right? Yeah. So ask the question. Say no and yet ask. Say no and be okay with it. Say no and find out the answer with the people in front of you. They're asking it because they obviously know the answer. Right there you can learn something, right? Even in an interview. And so regardless if you get the position or not, learn something from that interview so you can set yourself up for success at the next interview. What do I need to learn in order to be successful the next time this position comes up? I'm going to ace it next time, right? Yes. So even if you don't get the job, what did you actually learn about the position, about where you're at, and about yourself? And really use those and be honest with yourself and make a plan of how you're going to fix that.
Yeah. Yeah, and one thing too, we always tell students is if you don't get the job, make sure you're asking for feedback so that way you can hear what you can improve upon, and that way next time you'll be even better. And a lot of students get nervous at that point, like, I don't want to ask for feedback, but wouldn't you say it makes sense to ask for feedback after you didn't get something, and it's okay to do that?
Yeah, never be okay with just the response of, oh, we looked elsewhere, oh, you're just not the right fit. Because what does that mean? Right? You know what I mean? Like, exactly. What does that actually mean? Ask right back. Why did you choose someone else over me? Mm-hmm. Let me know so I can learn from this. Mm-hmm. And that right there is going to help you out so much more. All right, I have another interview next week. I have a week to figure out what they told me, and I'm going to hit those really, really hard. I'm going to learn all those things. So next week in this next interview, I'll ace it. Yeah. And take it that way. Don't be like, oh man, and again, the fear immobilizes you, right? Where I have another interview and I'm going to fail again, and don't let that fear immobilize you. Use that to propel you to success. Use that to really learn and ace it the next time. Mm-hmm. There's always a next time.
Exactly. And don't be just okay with, like you said, a no. Like, actually take the time to learn what you could do better for next time, because all that's going to do is help you. And that's kind of, I want to transition into more, after a student graduates from Dead Mountain, they're on their own, right? They're out in the real world, I guess I should say.
Right.
They're always going to have access to help and assistance from us. But we always tell students, get out there, start networking, go to meetups, do things that are going to get you involved in the community, whatever community is, whether it's QA, web, iOS, UI, UX, whichever one. Get involved. Can I have you talk just a little bit on that and your opinion on it, on how important networking is and getting involved in your community and reaching out to people, etc.?
Yeah, I am a huge believer of creating your own opportunities, of, again, not immobilizing yourself, right? Always moving forward at whatever speed works for you. As long as you're moving forward, that's okay. And in order to create your own opportunities, you have to go out there and you have to put yourself out there, right? You have to talk to people. You have to start your network. You have to get on LinkedIn. You got to go to companies that you want to work at and find out what are your requirements to work here. If there's no position there open right now, that's not stopping you from going over there and asking anyway, you know? Ask those questions and engage with the communities that there are. So for example, QA, I started one called QA at the Point that we do monthly. And right now we're getting a lot of people coming to it, but I know there's more than 65 QA engineers in Utah, right?
Right.
And so why are some people not taking advantage of this opportunity where you can network? And there's a whole excuse for you to network. Here's a monthly meetup, that's free, we feed you, and we entertain and we teach you stuff. Why not just spend an hour or two a month to create that network, learn something new? If you really want it, you'd do it.
Exactly.
You know, you wouldn't make the excuse of, oh, I don't have time. You knew last month when this meetup was gonna be. If you really wanna do it, then go do it, right? Take it. Don't just say stuff. Have your actions reflect what you're saying, you know, and go to it. So here at QA at the Point, I mean, just at the last meetup, we had about 65 people. A good 5 or 10 of them were managers or directors of different companies around Silicon Slopes, around Salt Lake City. And that's then 50, 55 people that took advantage of that.
Yeah.
And who knows how many X amount of people did not take advantage of that. And all because you didn't want to spend an hour out of your month to really build that network. That's what I mean by creating your own opportunities. Putting yourself out there, be confident, even just have a conversation. That will get you so far. It will open doors slightly in a lot of different places. And finally, when someone actually has a position open, they'll remember Karate Guy from QA at the Point,
Yes.
and they'll talk to that person. Hey, I remember we talked last month. I have a team now that I need to build. I want to talk to you.
Yes, exactly.
And now you've created the opportunity for yourself, all because you put yourself out there. You had the confidence to ask questions and to talk to someone.
Yeah, it's all about networking with people. And one thing that is so frustrating, being in employer relations, working with students after graduation, is hearing these students that will come 3 months after graduation, hey, I still don't have a job. Okay, let's look at, we have a system called the 20 Company Challenge, which involves reaching out to people on LinkedIn, etc. Tell me the meetups you've been going to. Tell me what you've been doing. Well, actually, I've just been submitting my resume to all the the LinkedIn posts and Indeed, and I haven't gotten anything back. Well, of course.
Right.
Of course you haven't. Because there's people out there that are actually reaching out on LinkedIn and going to meetups and putting themselves out there, that those are the ones that are getting picked up. And I think it just comes down to, you know, how badly do you want this? Are you going to take the shortcut, the easy way, or are you actually going to put in the work and do what you need to do and make those connections and really build a good, solid foundation to get into the industry and not only get in, but thrive and succeed and build those networks as well?
Yeah, I had a couple people actually talk to me at the last meetup where they said, we took your advice, Carlos. You told us to go out there, create our own opportunities. We went out there, we went to a company, and we wanted to talk to their manager, just like you told us. And he didn't want to talk to us. And they kind of chuckled about it a little bit, right? And I said, okay, well, what are you going to do about it? And they just said, well, I mean, he didn't want to talk to us. I don't know what else there is to do. And I'm like, well, why don't you talk to the people on his team?
Yeah.
What about the QA engineers there? I'm like, you'd be amazed how many people are down for free lunch. Let me take you out to lunch and let's talk a little bit. I'm interested in what you guys are doing at Adobe. I would love to be in your guys' team. Can we go to lunch and just talk about it? I'll pay.
Yeah.
And you invest $15 in their slapfish meal, right? But now you're creating opportunities for yourself again. Even if one person says no, all right, this person next. You know what I mean? And never stopping, always moving and always putting yourself out there, right? I feel like I can't say it enough. Like it's honestly just get rid of that fear. Find out what that fear is and just say, I'm gonna go against it anyway. And talk to someone, even if it's just another QA engineer on the team and not the manager, that doesn't matter. I've had, you know how many people I've had reject me or say no to me, and I just say, all right, that's fine, Mr. CTO. I wanted to talk to you. It sucks that you don't want to, but I'm gonna go down a step to your manager.
Yeah.
Manager, do you wanna go to lunch with me? Sure. And then we go to lunch and we talk about it. And all of a sudden, a week later, the CTO says, hey, you talked to my manager, so-and-so, and I would love to talk to you sometime. Sweet. And then he's the one buying me lunch. And all because I didn't just take the first no and say, well, this whole company doesn't want me. Let me go somewhere else. I said, I still want to talk to you guys, so I'm just going to talk to someone else and just talk to them, right? There's no harm. The worst thing that could happen is them to ignore you or say no.
I feel like I'm literally listening to myself talk right now because I can't tell you how many times I tell students this. So I love that you're saying all of this because it's so true. And it's so good, hopefully, for them to hear, you know, someone who's high up at Jane, a huge, amazing company here in Utah, saying these things, that it's okay to reach out, that it's not weird to reach out to someone on LinkedIn. That's what it's meant for. It's not weird to go to meetups and just talk to people. That's what they're meant for. Like, it's okay. Just do it. Just get out there and do it. And I love that you said all of that. I kind of want to wrap up, but I want you to touch on anything else that you think is important for our QA students, or students in general, to know, to help them be successful when going out into the industry and after graduation, and even during their time there, really.
Yeah, honestly, the biggest advice I can give someone is to practice and put in the time and energy. Mm-hmm. You gotta practice. You can't just be okay with where you're at, right? I mean, that's obviously why you went to Dev Mountain. That's obviously why you're doing what you're doing, and you're investing in yourself, mm-hmm. right? But you can't just end it there. I'm still learning. I'm still reaching out to people and finding people that are doing this better than I have, doing this longer than I have. And I'm asking them questions for me to learn. You gotta practice. Keep coding. For QA, automation is the future. AI, machine learning. You can only get there if you start actually practicing. Yeah. Try finding a website. Automate the website. Find anything that you're passionate about and do it. Mm-hmm. And when you do it, make it demoable. So when you go to an interview, you can demo what you've worked on. You can show, this is where I'm at right now. And that's only gonna make you look awesome inside the interview, right? And so to give you an example of that, I have a cousin who buys and sells cars on KSL, right? And so he said, well, I love to buy and sell cars on KSL, but I also want to practice automation. What if I automated the process of finding the cars that I like? I know the guidelines of the cars I usually look for. I could automate that. And so that's what he's doing. And now when he goes to interviews, he can show, here's the automation I did for my hobby on the side. My passion is this, and my passion is automation. And I'm combined both of them.
Which is a great talking point, like we were talking
Exactly.
about.
And then you present that in the interview, mm-hmm. and holy cow, that's super cool. You present that at lunch with the person you want to talk to, holy cow, what a great way to open the conversation, right? Yeah. You gotta put time in yourself. You gotta keep working hard. Prove that you really want it to yourself. You don't need to prove it to anybody else. Don't prove to me that you want to work really hard. Everyone I talk to is a hard worker, is a go-getter. Everyone is. What makes you different? Mm-hmm. Really put the time into yourself.
Yes, I love it. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate
you bet.
It. And yeah, Jane's a great company, so we hope to have you hire more Dev Mountain grads.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks.